that's pretty much it for specking of classes. Now I'll talk about equipment, and I'm not talking about your weapon bonuses, ammo bonuses, etc., etc. Except I will say I like the gear bonuses. I think that's cool that they add a little more specialization to that, and that there are different rarity levels to those. I look forward to grinding out some more of these in the future because of what I've played with so far. They do add a lot of customizability and extra class options, especially like the grenade capacity. They allow you to spec your grenades differently, extra damage or extra shrapnel over extra capacity, and then putting on your extra grenades gear, kind of or still going with extra capacity and then still putting your extra grenade gear on and being able to spam more. I think that's really cool. And being able to have a little damage buff that's weapon specific without having to waste your rail lamps or having to roll for rail lamps for weapons that you actually use instead of like SMG rail lamps. I know I have a lot of SMG rail lamps. But really, what I'm really going to talk about is your consumables, because I think a lot of people don't know how to use their consumables correctly. Really, the only ones that people use are metagels. So we'll start out with metagel. I see a lot of people going down and then immediately getting themselves up, and then I see a lot of people bleeding out when they still have metagel, and not knowing when a good time to get up is. It's not good to get up when you feel that the round is almost over with a metagel, because you could very easily need that later on. It's generally a good idea to wait until probably your bar is half depleted until getting yourself up and no one's coming around, or waiting until it's all the way depleted if you don't sense that there's, like for instance, a lot of boss mobs. Try not to get up in the middle of a crowd that's just waiting to mow you down again, because that's kind of a waste. And that's pretty much it on metagel. I think people know how to use metagel correctly, and that brings me into well, they use metagel a lot, and so they're have kind of learned how to use it. But that brings me into survival packs, and I really didn't see the point of survival packs earlier on in the game. But the more I use them, the more I've realized the survival pack can save you a metagel a lot of times. If you see yourself getting down to that kind of fourth of one health bar that the gate always stops at when you're taking damage, and you're taking a couple more shots when you're in that immune period, it's a good idea to pop a survival pack, because that gives you at least another 4 or 5 hits before you go down. And it can, a lot of times, just popping a survival pack and running away can save you from having to use a metagel, and can put you into the position where you can RPG something. And obviously, survival packs are a lot more plentiful than metagels because they're not quite as useful, but if used correctly, they can be just as valuable. That brings me into with the situational awareness, it brings me into thermal clip packs. Recently, thermal clip packs got a buff where instead of just giving you ammo, if your chamber is empty, it'll also reload, or if your clip is empty rather, it'll reload your gun for you. And I don't know exactly how long it lasts. I don't know if it's clip based or if it's time based, but when you use a thermal clip pack, you get a damage bonus, and I don't know exactly how much it is, but it's definitely noticeable. It may be the equivalent of a certain level of rail lamp, and I don't know if you heard that click. That was me setting my controller down while I'm talking about this, but I don't know exactly how much damage it is, but that definitely made thermal clips more useful. But I think people generally regard this as a completely useless equipment. But really, when you think about it in terms of it not just giving you an extra amount of ammo, but rather giving you, the opportunity to not have to leave your position and go get ammo that may be in where the ammo dump may be in a rather precarious spot, or it may take you away from your teammates and they may go down, or it allows you just to put more damage on a target in a shorter amount of time. When you think about it in that way, thermal clip packs are pretty useful because where you're secure when you're standing there, or what your situation is when you're standing there, but you don't know what the situation may become if you move. And so if you're kind of in a high risk situation where you don't want to use any metagels, or you don't have any, but you're in a safe spot, it's probably a good idea to use a thermal clip pack instead of running to get ammo. Now finally, Cobra missile launchers. I see a lot of people use RPGs, and that's just what I'm going to call missile launchers, in situations where they don't have to. And really what I would advise is not using a missile unless it's a situation where someone's going to die, you're backed into a corner, an emergency type situation. Use it in place of an ops pack or a metagel, or use an ops pack to be able to use a missile so you don't die. Use it in emergency situations, higher level objective rounds, just to clear paths. I know sometimes I'll not use any rockets until like a wave 10 object escort mission, and then I'll just rocket my way straight to the drop-off point, or just rocket targets if you feel like your teammates won't be able to kill them in time, or you get a unfortunate upload and just rocket anything, rocket a group of mobs that spawn in, so you don't have to deal with that. Because if you don't have somebody with decoy or somebody that's putting up massive damage, then that can get to be a sticky situation. Or if you feel like your team's pretty good and you're not really needing a use for rockets, make sure you have a kill streak, because kill streaks are great. If you get all the kill streaks, I think it's a 17,500 XP bonus, which is a lot of XP. But don't just drop a missile on like a Banshee or a couple Primes or something, because it's really not worth it, unless you're going for some kind of speed run or something. But in my opinion, it's not worth it, and then it's kind of a buzzkill if you're trying to test out like how quickly you can kill something, which I know I do a lot, and then some dildo comes over and rocket. It's a little bit of a buzzkill, but really you can look at all of your equipment as kind of a metagel, because if it's not saving you directly from damage, it's saving you from a situation where you would take damage or go down. So really you can utilize all of your equipment as something that can save you from dying, even if it doesn't directly feel like it would.